Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campia, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campia Show, Monday through Friday, in the mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we take a little bit of time to take live questions, but we don't always have time to get around to all of the live questions that come in. But I want to make sure those questions get answered, so we gather them up and address them here on companion videos. Now, today is Thursday, the 21st of February, and these questions are all leftover questions from this morning, so let's not waste any time, and let's get right to it. And we're going to start things off today with a question from Gabriel Reed, who writes, during the Academy season, what separates Best Picture from Best Director? It seems like they go hand in hand, but different at the same time. Well, I mean, different people will give different answers to this, I think. Different people will have different explanations. But look, Best Picture is the culmination of the screenplay, the cinematography, the acting, the directing, all that kind of stuff that coalesces into the big final product, right? That's Best Picture. The person who does the best directing job, though, of the year may not necessarily have had all the best tools at their disposal. They may not have had the best script or the best story or whatever, but, you know, an Academy can look at that and the Directors Guild can look at that and go, man, what they made with what they had was amazing. This other film may have been a better final product, but man, the direction this guy gave this movie made it as good as it could have been. And he gets that, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's really the separation. The director has one job to play, and his is the most vital job. His or hers is the most vital job. Absolutely, for sure it is. But, you know, if you get another film that just ends up with a better final product overall because it had a better starting story, better execution with the script, better performers, better whatever the case may be, in whatever case, the two are not synonymous. Best Director and Best Picture are not synonymous. Think of it in terms of sports, right? You can have an NBA team with the best player, but they don't just automatically win the championship. Sometimes the championship team is not a team that has the league's best player. The best player has big influence, and the best player has, you know, the most important job of making their team the best and everything, sure. But if they don't have the surrounding pieces around them, they're not going to be the championship team. So that's how I would describe it. The two are very much very, very different things. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Stubble McShave, who writes, if you could erase one movie from your memory to watch it for the first time again, what would it be? Ooh. Well, it's not necessarily my favorite movie because I cherish having those memories. Off the top of my head, I might say Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Just because, number one, the movie is magnificent. And it's the end of that trilogy. And it ended way better than I think anybody expected it to, despite how good the first two were. In many ways, it could have gone wrong. And just, God, I mean, everything in that movie, from the visual effects, the cinematography, the acting, I mean, just everything put together. It's such a great experience. So if I could do that and go back and say, remember the first two films, but have my first experience again for watching the final one, Return of the King again, that's probably the one I would do. Off the top of my head, at least at any rate, that's the one I would do. All right, next up. Orange Hand writes, pull the string on the Campia doll, and that's an interesting question. Pull a string on the Campia doll, and it says, most likely go Leafs go. Now, I don't talk a lot about the Toronto Maple Leafs on here because a lot of you guys don't like when I talk any sports at all, but I can only imagine when I talk about sports, and it's a sport that none of you watch. And in the United States of America, hockey is just like the fourth or fifth most popular sport, so I don't talk about it a lot, but yep, to be honest, pull the string on the John Campia doll, and it probably says, go Leafs, go. All right, never mind, I still don't get likes, writes, do people at Marvel/Lucasfilm go to each other's premieres? Oh yeah, for sure. I've gone to a lot of different premieres. Look, it's people from all different types of movies go to different premieres. Like, I've been to Warner Brothers premieres, Universal premieres, Paramount premieres, and you see people from other movie franchises and stuff like that all the time. But yeah, at the Marvel or Lucasfilm ones, you'll definitely get MCU people that are there at Star Wars premieres. You definitely get some Star Wars people, or even other MCU characters and actors and directors from other MCU movies showing up to their fellow MCU movies. So yeah, absolutely. A lot of different people get invited to these things. All right, next up. Chris Warden writes, question for Robert. Unfortunately, Robert's not here right now. What did you think of Wandering Earth? Tonight is the last night it's showing in my town. I'm wondering if I should go see it. He still hasn't seen it. Like every day for the last week, Robert's talking to me, okay, I'm going to try to go see Wandering Earth tonight. And then something comes up with one of the several films that he's working on. And because he's got, Robert's always got, he's a busy guy. He's always got several pots in the fire. So as of today, he still hadn't seen it yet. And he's getting frustrated because he wants to see it really badly. He wants to go see it. And every time he thinks he's going to have a chance to go, something comes up and he doesn't get to go. So here's hoping he gets to see it really soon. Okay. Topher Rocks writes, saw Happy Death Day to You. I enjoyed it, but we had to sit through 25 minutes of trailers. This is getting ridiculous. We need movie trailer reform. Look, I agree. Now, look, I am one of these people that I do think, personally, that trailers are actually a part of the movie-going experience. Trailers are a part of the movie-going experience. And I like seeing, there's something very comforting about going to the movie and watching the trailers, right? Now, it's not as special today as it used to be because today we've all seen the trailers online already. And it used to be back in the day that was the first time you'd see a trailer was in the movie theater, right? So that was always cool. And it's not like that anymore. It's different. But still, there's something special about trailers that you've even already seen, but in little web windows, and now you get to see on the big screen. I love trailers. But at some point, it's too much. Like, it used to be like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then they grew and they called it the 20. Then it was 20 minutes. Then they started pushing it past 20, 22. In some places now it's like 25 minutes. And that gets frustrating. Look, you say there's a 7 p.m. showtime. Start your damn movie at 7 p.m. then. Start rolling your trailers at 6:45 or something like that. Look, and I'm not saying you have to do that. It's just that I like the idea of trailers. I love the idea for trailers. But my goodness, 25 minutes? People go out and they're thinking, oh, 7 o'clock movie, great, we can be home by 9:30, but really you're not getting home till 10 or 10:30, right? It's too much. Now, thankfully, we live in an era right now where we can get pre-assigned seats. Now, the magic of the pre-assigned seat, which means, I order my tickets and I know I'm sitting in seat L9 or something. The beauty of that means when my showtime says 7, I know I don't have to be there at 7. I know I can leave my house at 7. I know I can leave my house. I'm going to have enough time to get to the theater, go up to the concession stand, get myself a soda, and still be in my seat in time for the movie to start. And because it's a pre-assigned seat, I don't have to worry about getting a seat. I don't have to worry about getting a bad seat. I already know where my seat is, so I don't have to go walking in. That kind of alleviates it a bit, but still, they should not have 25 minutes. You're right. They've got to change this up. They got to get this back. Just fix it, guys. Just fix it, because it is getting frustrating. There's so many of them. All right. Gabriel Reed writes, I'd be so down for a female-led Avengers film. It would be a good way to change things up. Well, on the one hand, that is something they've never done. Like, all their Avengers films are led by guys, and that's fine. I love the Avengers film. The first Avengers film is still my all-time favorite comic book movie. Yes, even more than The Dark Knight, even more than Logan. But that first of S, even more than Infinity War or Civil War or Winter Soldier or whatever. That first Avengers movie is still, to me, the best comic book movie ever made. Anyway, to have an all-female one would be a really neat, or at least a female-led one, that would be a neat change of pace, just to do something different. I'm not sitting here saying they need to go out and do that. Not at all. I'm perfectly happy with Avengers the way they are, but if they want to change it up, I'd be down for it. Why not? Give it a shot. All right. Corey Obenbreet writes, hey guys, so we know Ronan will be in Captain Marvel, but what are the chances that we see Thanos too? And how big of a role will they both play? I don't know about Ronan. All I know is that they got Lee Pace in there. He's in the movie. They even showed a shot of him in the trailer, so we know that. How much he'll be in there, I'm still not sure. And even in the reactions coming out, everybody's talking about Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, the Cat, but I don't really hear anybody mentioning Lee Pace or Ronan. That makes me suspect the role isn't going to be that big. I don't know that. I'm going to see the film in about a week or so. But it kind of suggests that he's not in it that much. As far as Thanos go, Thanos is out there in the universe. We know Ronan has worked with Thanos. I don't see why not, but I certainly don't suspect it would be any kind of a major character. There might be an appearance, there might be a cameo, there might be a reference or something, but I doubt it's very big, if anything at all. So we'll have to just wait and see. Preston Walden writes, so I see the trolls are out in force. They never disappoint, do they? How do they get so bad? I never remember this much hate when I was growing up. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I've referenced it several times, and quite frankly, I'm getting bored of talking about that. But there is definitely a culture of hate. There's absolutely a culture of hate. And there are websites and YouTube channels that capitalize on that culture of hate, and they feed and encourage that culture of hate because they know hate gets clicks. Hate gets views. So there are YouTube channels out there that want to perpetuate lies and perpetuate myths because they generate hate. And hate gets clicks. But yeah, it has gotten bad, but you know what? All you can do is just kind of believe that good fandom will prevail in the end. And that's all we've got to go on. All right. Bill Lumberg writes, that's the character from Office Space. Hey, John, if you can just watch Happy Death Day to You, that would be great. Yeah, so again, last night, I was supposed to go see Happy Death Day to You. But I got caught up in watching Umbrella Academy. And then I was going to go again today, and I got caught up again in watching Umbrella Academy. And I'm about 5 episodes in now. So I have delayed seeing Happy Death Day to You in trying to get through season 1 of the Umbrella Academy. I'm digging it so far. I will say this, I'm not jumping up and down about it. It's not, oh my God, this is one of the best shows I've seen in the last couple of years. I'm not feeling that, but I am digging it. It's pretty damn good. And hopefully I get to finish that off in the next day or two. All right. Murray Reich writes, I've seen 3 episodes, speaking of Umbrella Academy, I've seen 3 episodes of Umbrella Academy. It's amazing. I'm not there yet. I'm liking it. I'm definitely liking it. I think it's a very different show, especially when you're talking about the comic book genre and superhero genre. They do some very, very trippy and different things, and I'm appreciating it very much. I'm about 4 or 5 episodes in. I'm not ready to call it amazing. I'm not there yet, but here's hoping for me that it picks up steam. But even if it doesn't pick up steam, it's quite good. I'm enjoying it. It's quite good. I'm looking forward to finishing this series off. All right. Curtis Lopez writes, Robert, who's not here, what was the sequel you watched that everybody loved that you hated? Oh man, sorry about that. I can't even, you can ask Rob some questions that I can take a stab at answering for him, but unfortunately, that's one that I can't answer. And yeah, I apologize about that, but I can't answer that one. Abdul writes, this is my first super chat. Well, thank you so much, Abdul, for sending it in. Warner Media streaming service announced for Warner Brothers and confirming they will have original DC content. Do you see them using a Batman show for the service as a big appeal? I mean, look, I would have said no a while ago. I mean, there was not that long ago, I would have said absolutely not. But, a lot has changed. DC has changed their attitude towards Batman and Superman. I mean, there used to be a time that they would never don't have Superman on the CW stuff, and now they are, and they walk all over him. Batman, they've even been loosening up a lot on. And in an era where we're seeing things like Disney Plus is coming, right? In an era with Disney Plus, where Disney Plus is putting on Star Wars shows and MCU shows, like active current MCU shows, not just crappy, old-fashioned, straight-to-home video animated crap, like actual MCU characters with the actors who made those characters famous actually playing the roles. They've got these guys in there, and that's kind of the era that we live in right now. And so the notion of Warner wanting to take advantage of that and say, well, what are the big bullets we've got in our gun? One of the biggest bullets we've got in our chamber is Batman. And listen, that would be a major play. I'm not saying they're going to do it. Heavens no, I'm not saying they're going to do it. But, I mean, considering that Marvel is pulling out all the stops to try to drive as many people to this Disney Plus service as possible, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. Now, I'm not at the point where I'd be putting up $10 or $15. I wouldn't bet it that they would. But I'm just saying, whereas I would have said 100% no way before that they put a Batman series on, I'm now like, hey, don't be surprised if they do. Because in some ways it does make sense. You got Disney Plus pulling out the big stops. It wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world for Warner to pull out the big stops. And what's their big card up their sleeve? It's Batman. That might be the thing to do it. All right, thanks a lot for the question, Abdul. Lucas M. writes, when Indiana Jones makes a comeback, new filmmakers will share memories of seeing Raiders for the first time. Do you guys have any such fond memories? Well, I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the great series of all time. The Indiana Jones stuff, obviously. I still remember watching, I was in grade school, and they showed us Indiana Jones, the first Raiders of the Lost Ark. They showed it to us in grade school. And I remember that. My favorite Indiana Jones film, a lot of people look at me like I'm crazy, but is still... the last few days I've been completely freezing on the Indiana Jones title for the Last Crusade. Finally, before it came up, I finally remembered it. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is actually my favorite of all of them. I think it's a great culmination of the series, notwithstanding Crystal Skull. But yeah, do I think, at some point someday when they revitalize or reboot or do whatever with Indiana Jones, there will be new filmmakers coming and talking about their fond memories the first time. Absolutely, Lucas. I think you're 100% correct about that. Okay, let's move on. Brandon M. writes, Thanos already being dead at the start of Endgame would feel like having blue balls. Maybe yes, maybe no. But look, do I really think Thanos is going to be dead at the beginning of Endgame? No. But I don't think it's as crazy as it sounds. Because remember, he was pretty badly wounded at the end of Infinity War. And it would not surprise me. His job was done. Look, Thanos won. That's it. Thanos won. Period. He won Infinity War. The movie ends and he won. Now, I know as audience members, our reaction, our instinct says, no, the story's not over yet because the bad guy can't win. Guess what? The bad guy won. The bad guy won. Now, maybe Endgame is continuing that story and wanting to, them, no, he didn't win. He only temporarily won. The good guys are going to stop him now. I don't know. I don't know about that. Whether Thanos is alive or dead at the beginning of Endgame, I don't know that Thanos is even going to play a big part of this movie. He won. And now the Avengers got to try to do something with the current set of circumstances. And whether that means undoing the snap or whether that means a whole different thing, utilizing the quantum realm to reset reality or whatever, the end of that doesn't change. Thanos got the win. Thanos won. For Kevin Feige, think about this though. To start Endgame, Thanos finds Thor finds, as we see in the trailer, Thor finds that planet that Thanos went to retire. And he gets there and he finds him dead. That just would shock the world. It would be such a huge curveball that the audience wouldn't see coming. And at that moment, every expectation you had, every thought that you had, that you thought you knew where this Endgame movie was going, snap, would be gone. You now as an audience member would be sitting there in the theater going, I thought I knew where this movie was going to go. Now I have no idea what's going to happen next because Thanos, the Mad Titan, is dead. And suddenly now we'd all be sitting in this movie theater with a completely clean slate. All of our expectations are thrown out the windows. All of our predictions thrown out the windows. And I would not put, again, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying I would not put it past Kevin Feige to do that. I wouldn't put it past him. And I think it could be a little bit of brilliant. I think it could be absolutely brilliant if they did it. So I don't know. I don't think that's what they're going to do. But man, wouldn't it be cool if they had the balls to do it. All right, anyway, let's move on. Dan Ketchum writes, what if future Thanos and Avengers stop past Thanos? Okay, guys, listen, let me say this again. Don't start your questions with what if without putting a question in there, because that's not a question. What if future Thanos and Avengers stop past Thanos? That's not a question. All right? I've been saying this a lot lately. If you want to ask, what if A and B happens, would that cause this? See, that would be a question. But don't just ask, what if this, and just leave it hanging there. Because honestly, there's not a question here. What if future Thanos and Avengers Thanos stop past Thanos? Okay, and what's the question? Are you asking me, would that make the audiences satisfied? That would be a question. What if future Thanos and Avengers stop past Thanos? Do you think that how would that affect the storytelling of the DC or the MCU moving forward? That would be a question. This isn't a question. So I don't know what to say, Dan. I mean, what if future Thanos and Avengers stop past Thanos? Then that's what happens. I don't know what to do with it when people just say, what if, and then they don't actually put a question on the end of it. What if what? So I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what it is you're asking. I'm not trying to give you a hard time, brother. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just saying that when people sending these questions, they say, what if this? Because it just leaves me sitting here as like, what do you want me to say? There's no question here. What if this scenario and what, So please, guys, if you're going to send in questions that start with what if, make sure you end it with an actual question. Let me know what it is you're asking. What are you asking me to comment on? Let me know. I just appreciate that. Again, Dan, I know it sounds like I'm busting your balls, and I'm sorry about that, brother. I don't mean to. It's just that I need a little bit more to be able to answer. Because I have a hard time enough sounding intelligent, then especially when I can't understand the question, brother. All right. I'm sounding like Hulk Hogan, brother. I'm upset, writes, whatever happened to that Star Wars spoof film from the guys that did Meet the Spartans? Oh, hopefully it just died and is dead and buried in the desert somewhere. Those dudes, I'm telling you what, I'm sure they're very, very nice dudes. I'm sure they're wonderful, wonderful dudes. But their movies were terrible. Just terrible movies. Not funny. Not like, oh my God, they were so bad. And so just hopefully this script has been burned to ash, and then the ashes were buried deep somewhere in the Nevada desert. That's all I can hope for personally, because like I said, I just found the movies to be quite bad. I thought the movies were really bad. Richard Karate writes, my ultimate fan cast, Rufus Sewell as Batman. Really? Rufus Sewell? I like Rufus Sewell very much. I don't see him as a Batman, though. Although, I mean, that's an actor that doesn't get enough love. Rufus Sewell does not get enough love. He's a really, really good actor, and I enjoy seeing him on screen. I don't see him as Batman, though. Emily Blunt kicks all types of ass. I do not see her as a Catwoman at all. Benedict Cumberbatch as a Joker. Derek Jacobi as Alfred. Scott Adkins as Deathstroke. Bryan Cranston as Commissioner Gordon. Your thoughts? You know me, dude. I don't care. I don't care. Insert name of good actor with role. Sure. Like, I wouldn't cast Rufus Sewell as Batman, but if I found out tomorrow he was, all I would ask is Rufus Sewell a really good actor? The answer to that is yes. Then I'm like, cool, give it a shot. There's 30 or 40 other actors that I think would be cool, give it a shot. But I will say that with him. Again, none of these people would be high on my list. But ultimately, if they announced tomorrow they were making this movie and they said this was the cast, sure, I'm cool with it. I'm cool because they're all talented people, so I'm cool with that. And Scott Adkins can bring the physicality to Deathstroke. As long as you don't give him a ton of dialogue, I think that can be fine too. All right. Gray Man writes, hey, Campy and company. So what's your guys' take on the ongoing sitch with Jussie Smollett of TV's Empire, galactic class victim claiming at its worst? Yeah, we talked about that on the show already this morning. It's horrible. If it's true, remember, that's still a big if. Never forget, we don't know that any of this is true. We just don't know that. But if it is, if this guy faked his own attack to increase his profile and to increase his negotiating leverage with Fox and the TV producers, then it's unspeakable. It's unspeakable. And what I said in the show earlier today is, number one, look, you got to understand that there are people today who suffer at the hands of prejudice, exclusion, and are just basically oppressed in a lot of different ways. And there are people who suffer at the hands of racism, of homophobia, of all this kind of stuff. People who deal with that crap every day. And for somebody to come along and to utilize their position to lie about that, to take advantage of it for their own personal advantage, it's unspeakable. But what's even worse is this. In a world that has all the studies are showing hate crimes are on the rise. They just are. That's just a fact. You can't debate that. All the legal studies and all the law stuff shows that hate crimes are on the rise. And all a stupid, idiotic, selfish stunt like this does is it casts a massive... Now, the next person, some gay kid, is going to get abused and physically beaten in his high school, and people are going to, oh, this is just another Smollett situation. It's just another Smollett situation. You cast a shadow now over legitimate victims who are going to get victimized of stuff. This is unspeakable. If it's true. If it's true. We don't know that it's true. But if it is, it's unspeakable. It's hard to comprehend that somebody would do that. Because there's movie stuff, there's entertainment stuff, there's stuff about having opinions about movies. That's all nothing. That's all bull. This is real life crap. And to do something like that would be, again, just unspeakable. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I'm not going to address it anymore. I don't like talking politics. I don't like talking celebrity gossip. I like talking movies and TV show and fun stuff. That's what this channel is for. So I totally understand the question. I totally understand why you're asking the question, but I'm not going to be addressing it anymore because that's, who am I to speak on these issues, right? I'm a guy who watches movies, for heaven's sakes. But that's my 2 cents worth for what it's worth, and there it is. All right. Richard Karate writes, did you see Pierce Brosnan, The November Man? Oh, that's the one that came out in like 93 or 92 or something like that. I don't remember seeing it. The only noteworthy thing about that film, though, was that Olga, Kurylenko was his female co-star in it. And she was the finalist, one of the 3 finalists, along with Gal Gadot, for landing the role of Wonder Woman. And I still remember the day that and she was in a Bond film, and she was in Hitman, and Olga was. And I still remember when they announced the 3 finalists. I still remember doing this show. It was Olga, it was Gal, and it was one other actress, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. But I remember when the announcement came out that the final 3 up for Wonder Woman, I remember going, are you being serious? None of these are good actresses. I just remember saying that at the time, that when they came out with the whole 3, it's like, none of these have shown they can actually act. And I was beside myself that they did that. But that's one of the cool little side note trivia questions for November Man, is that Olga Kurylenko, the girl who was almost Wonder Woman, is also co-star in that with him. All right. Richard Karate writes, thoughts on the singer Meatloaf, and will we get a Meatloaf biopic? I hope so. I love his music. I honestly, quite frankly, I know next to nothing about his music. Other than like the one song, I Would Do Anything for Love. And I think that's the song. I don't know any of his other stuff. I'm not a Meatloaf guy. I don't know any of his other stuff. And I don't know anything about his life to know if his life is even remotely interesting. So I'm the wrong guy to ask, Richard. I'm the wrong guy to ask. All right. Holy Jeebus writes, hi, John. I started watching my Kurosawa movies again, and my new favorite is Hidden Fortress. Oh, that one was cool. Forgot how fun it was. Still consider Mifune and Fujita's fight one of the best choreographed fight scenes of all time. I think it was good for its time. I think it was very good for its time. Classic story, get the gold, get the princess kind of stories. I mean, it's great. It's one. Actually, George Lucas talks a lot about Hidden Fortress and the influence that kind of had on Star Wars and his career as well. I think obviously, when a lot of people think of Kurosawa, the first thing they're going to think of is Seven Samurai. Rashomon is another one. Ikuru is the one to me that really gets me. Life. To Live. And that to me is my favorite film of his, and to me the quintessential Kurosawa films. But I mean, Hidden Fortress, and like I said, Holy, you're in good company. There is guys like George Lucas, Spielberg. If you can look up online, Spielberg, go on YouTube and look up George Lucas Hidden Fortress, and you'll find videos of George Lucas talking about Hidden Fortress. Spielberg too, and I think a lot of the great filmmakers all talk about that film a lot. So you are in good company, sir. You are in very good company. All right, next up, Artur Mansouri writes, if you could spend one day with a movie character, who would it be? Well, I think Luke Skywalker could be a boring day. I'm going to go Optimus Prime. I think I would want to spend the day. I would want to spend the day with Optimus Prime. That's the dude I'd want to hang out with for a day. So there we go. I'll say Optimus Prime. I'm not saying he's my all-time favorite movie character, but if I could actually hang out one day with one movie character, might just very well be Optimus Prime. All right, Richard Karate writes, best Danny Glover movie in your thoughts? Oh, to me, there's no question. Not even close. It's The Color Purple. Color Purple, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, won Best Picture. And I think Glover, hold on a second. Let me look this up. The Color, okay. 1985. What I cannot remember, I believe it won Best Picture, but what I cannot remember is, and where's the awards? There it is. There it is. Awards. Okay, so Color Purple was, oh my God, it was nominated for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Academy Awards. I don't know if it won any of them, actually. No, it didn't win for any of them. Let's see. Whoopi Goldberg was nominated for Best Actress in Leading Role. Oprah Winfrey was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Okay, Danny Glover did not get nominated. For some reason, I thought maybe he did, but he didn't. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Original Score, Best Makeup, Best Music, Best Costume Design, Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, Best Screenplay, Best Actress in Supporting, Best Actress in a Leading, another Best Actress in Supporting. Margaret Avery was also nominated for that. And yeah, so, but anyway, so Glover wasn't nominated. I thought that he might have been. This is why I have to look this stuff up. But to me, yeah, that's his best movie. I don't think anything else comes close. There's a number of other films he has that I really enjoy, but yeah, to me, nothing else comes close. All right, Kyle Macero writes, hey, John, could we see your TED Talk? It sounds great. I'm going to assume you're talking about my Why Movies Matter speech that I did. So here's what it is. Back in early 2015, we were still with AMC. And AMC every year has this giant conference. And this one year, they invited us to the conference, and they invited me to be the co-keynote speaker for their opening night. And following me, I was actually the opening act for the keynote. So I did it, and then Tyler Perry. It was held in Atlanta. And Tyler Perry, who's based out of Atlanta, he was speaking after me, which was really fun. Anyway, so they asked me to come and talk, and I decided to do my talk on why movies matter. And I think it's one of the best speeches I've ever given. I'm not saying it's one of the best speeches ever given. I'd say it's one of the best speeches I've ever given. And I believe it 100%. Like, I believe movies actually matter. That's the crazy thing. Movies are fun and they're a great escape, and yeah. But I actually believe movies matter. And I talk about that in this little speech. It's only about, 7 or 8 minutes long, this speech. But if you want to find it, I'll pop it up on my Instagram page too if you want to check it out. But the other thing you can do is just go onto YouTube and search John Campea, Why Movies Matter. And you'll find the speech that I give there. And if you go watch it, let me know what you think of it, because I believe in it a lot. I really do. So thanks for bringing that up, Kyle. Okay. Magic K writes, Alita opened in China. It probably will be huge on the box office. But on the other hand, Captain Marvel probably not going to be a hit in China like Alita. It probably underperformed like Black Panther did. Yeah, maybe. By the way, I'm not so sure how big of a hit Alita is going to be in China. I think there are some people thinking Alita is going to make like $400 million in China. I'm not so sure that's true. And I like Alita, but right now, the entire Chinese box office is being eaten up by Wandering Earth. Still, and a lot of people are watching that, and that might kill a lot of Alita's possible momentum, or maybe it will. Maybe it will make like $400 million in China. Who knows? I mean, it needs it because it ain't doing great in North America. It is not doing great in North America, not compared to the budget that it costs. So it's possible. It's absolutely possible. All right. And China isn't kind to first-time... pardon me. China, the box office of China often isn't kind to origin movies, per se, with some of the heroes. Some of them they are, some of them they're not. Black Panther didn't. We got a female-led one, which may not go over well in China. And that's always a possibility. We'll have to wait and see. John DeBenedict writes, "Hey guys, love the Rocketman trailer." I'm glad somebody did. Also, love Taron Egerton and Dexter Fletcher's previous film, Eddie the Eagle. I loved Eddie the Eagle. This could be another winner. I certainly hope so. Now, I said this morning on the John Campus Show, but I'll repeat it here. I honestly don't know what I think about it as a trailer, but I do know that this bothered me. In talking about the upcoming Rocketman movie, for the longest time, they always kept telling us, this isn't a biopic. This is a fantasy, trippy, psychedelic musical journey that does play off some of the tentpole moments in Elton John's career, but it's not a biopic. And then they dropped that first teaser that made it look like the psychedelic, trippy, musical adventure kind of movie, kind of more in the vein of a Moulin Rouge, which I also love Moulin Rouge. And I really liked that first teaser. But then it's like they said, oh, look how popular Bohemian Rhapsody is. Bohemian Rhapsody made like $800 million. Well, we got to make Rocketman look like a Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. And so now they put out this trailer that doesn't feel anything like a fantasy, trippy, psychedelic musical adventure through certain tentpoles of Elton John's life. It feels like a straight-up biopic. And I cannot... If they were telling the truth before about what this movie is, then this trailer was completely deceiving. Again, I haven't seen the movie. I don't know. But I'm just saying, going off what they said before, if this movie is anything like they told us it was going to be, this trailer doesn't look anything like the movie they said this movie was going to be. It doesn't look anything like how they described it. It doesn't look anything like how the first teaser trailer looked. It looked like they're just trying to capitalize on, hey, everybody seems to love Bohemian Rhapsody, and that made a lot of money. Make this movie look like Bohemian Rhapsody. But this movie isn't anything like Bohemian Rhapsody. Doesn't matter. People will buy it. Just make the next trailer look like a real serious, dramatic biopic, because people are buying tickets to that right now. And I don't know if that's the case or not. I will say this, though. I'm a fan of Taron Egerton. I loved Eddie the Eagle. I thought that movie was tremendously underrated. That had great heart and humor and emotion, and you just love the characters. And I thought Taron was great in it. I thought Hugh Jackman was great in it. I loved that movie. Not enough people saw Eddie the Eagle. And more of you should check it out when you get a chance. But, yeah, at any rate, I love it, but it just something feels off about this Rocketman trailer to me, dude. Just something feels a little bit off about it. All right, we move on now to Magic K, who writes, Black Panther box office in China is $97 million. Yeah, which, I mean, isn't bad. Make $100 million bucks in China is not bad. I wouldn't call that underperforming. A Western film making $100 million bucks, I would not call that underperforming, not in the Chinese market. I wouldn't call it that at all. Alex Pitt writes, Bond 25 has been pushed back to April 20th or April 2020. Not tremendously surprised. I mean, look, with the director swapping out and the rewriting of scripts and going in a new direction, doesn't surprise me at all. There was no way they were going to make the release date they had under the current circumstances. The best thing to do was to push that release date. That was the best thing to do. You know, Danny Boyle, I was excited when Danny Boyle was going to direct it, and then that all fell apart, and I think they've kind of been struggling to find a new identity for the movie, and pushing the date just seemed like the right thing to do. Tristan Larison writes, It's Always Sunny starting its 14th season in the fall. Really? Man, I mean, it's a show I don't watch. I don't watch It's Always Sunny. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I have not a bad thing to say about it because I've never watched it. But really? It's starting its 14th season? That is crazy. Almost as crazy as Supernatural getting ready to start its 15th season. That is also nuts. But I had no idea how It's Always Sunny has been around that long, man. That's crazy. That must mean a whole bunch of you watch it. Let's see. Ryan Lohner writes, Ishido lingered I know what this is. Ishido lingered 3 days and died very old. And I know this, and there's only one reason I know it, is because somebody else quoted that, not on the show, but somebody else quoted that to me like a month or two ago. It's the only reason. I don't think I would have remembered this pure out, but that's from Shogun. That's from Shogun. Ishido was buried up to his neck and had peasants were allowed to take cuts at his neck or something along those lines, and he lingered 3 days and then he died. But anyway, the only reason I remember that is because somebody else brought that up to me a while ago, so I probably wouldn't have remembered it off the top of my head, but that's why I remember that one. All right, thanks for that quote. I love Shogun. Love Shogun. Luis Francisco Contreras writes, GSP retired today in a press conference. The GOAT. Yeah, I mean, certainly the welterweight GOAT. He is the greatest welterweight of all time. Nobody will ever come close. Well, hard to say ever, but nobody right now comes close. George St. Pierre dominated that division like nobody's dominated a division before. And he's certainly in the conversation for the overall mixed martial artist GOAT of all time, but he is absolutely the welterweight GOAT, no doubt about it. My all-time favorite fighter is George St. Pierre. Just saw him again in Captain America Winter Soldier as Gatroc. So, yeah, GSP, man, best there is. And the last time he fought, he came out of a 2.5, 3 year retirement and fought the middleweight champion, Michael Bisping, won the middleweight title. And that was his last fight. Came out of retirement after years sitting on the shelf, fought the middleweight champion and beat the middleweight champion and became a 2-division champion. He, not at the same time, but he's welterweight champion. He's held the middleweight title. One of the best there ever was, man. And, man, it sucks. I was really hoping he would come back again, but I get it. He's getting up there. All right. Did Ben know fans loved his Batman, John? I guess not everybody did, but he knows that a bunch of us did. He knows a bunch of us did. Drunken Movies writes, over under 15%. Avengers go back in time, save the world, but Steve stays in the past to live his life with Agent Carter, thus passing the mantle of Captain America. Now, first of all, I hate the notion of him. The Captain America is not a mantle. It's him. He is Captain America. Captain America is Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is Captain America. But John, in the comic book, I know they've done dumb things in the comic books, but I'm sorry, Bucky's not Captain America. And I'm sorry, but Sam isn't Captain America either. So, no, I hate that notion of him passing the mantle of Captain. No, he is Captain America. It's not a mantle, it's who he is. I'm going to take the under 15% because that completely changes history. In maybe some devastatingly bad ways. Him going back, because remember, Agent Carter went on to become married and had children. And she had a family of her own. And then she had a niece, you know. That was in Winter Soldier and in Civil War that Steve then fell in love with her. What happens to all those people? They disappear from the timeline. And then their children disappear from the timeline. And it creates this cascading terrible effect. So for that reason, geeky time travel. But for that reason, I'm going to say no. I'm going to take way under 15% that's what happens. Alex Bosi writes, rumor said Ghostbusters is shooting in Calgary. Really? I am from Alberta. I love Alberta. Really. I never lived in Alberta, but I lived in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan for a while, and I had friends who lived in Alberta. I would go in and out of Alberta all the time. I will do my best to be part of Extra. So many franchise and TV shows are made in Canada now. What makes Canada so great for Hollywood? Mostly tax incentives. They're called tax credits. Local governments, and this is why cities like Atlanta, New Orleans, a lot of shooting happens in Atlanta now, a lot of shooting happens in New Orleans, because the local governments offer tax incentives And tax credits is what they're actually called. They offer these things called tax credits to these movies, and it helps the studios offset the cost of the movies, and that means a lot to them. So they go and shoot there. A lot of Canadian cities have some very strong tax credits, including Vancouver. Now, Vancouver's also just got that great wilderness look to it, so you can go and shoot a lot of different stuff there. But yeah, tax credits, Alex. It's all about tax credits. That's why a lot of people in the industry keep lobbying, California, get more tax credits, keep more production in Los Angeles, because a lot of studios are taking their production out of town. I mean, they're centered in LA, but they'll go shoot their stuff in Atlanta, they'll go shoot their stuff in Canada, they'll go shoot their stuff wherever, and call it New York or call it Los Angeles, but tax incentives. So there's been a big growing battle to get more tax incentives in LA itself. Schnell Hope writes, why can Joe and Anthony Russo share director credit, but we are told it's not allowed on other movies, except, example, Bohemian Rhapsody and Justice League? No. You can have co-director credit. There are circumstances of co-director credit. The thing is, you have to show to the Directors Guild of America, and the Directors Guild of America they're the body that determine who gets director credit on a movie. Not the studio, nothing like that. It's the Directors Guild of America decides that. And they have a rule. And basically, without getting into all the details, it's basically this. If you want a co-director credit, you got to show basically that you really did half of the directing work on the movie. That you did half the directing work. And there have been examples in the past of a co-director's credits being granted. A situation like Bohemian Rhapsody, Bryan Singer directed that movie. Some other guy came in and did the last couple of weeks of shooting, but the vast majority of Bohemian Rhapsody was all directed by Bryan Singer. And by the way, even before they start shooting, they've already plotted out where the movie goes. So even all that directing work for the couple of weeks that Singer wasn't there, it was actually the stuff that he set up. Justice League, the same thing. I think they ultimately just determined that more than half the movie, despite how much tremendous reshoots they did, I don't think Joss Whedon ever petitioned the DGA to get a co-director credit. I don't think he ever wanted it. So there was all that too. But yes, you can get co-director credit in situations where two people direct their films together, like Joe and Anthony Russo, like the Coen brothers, like Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. You have many examples of co-directors. And even when one director starts a film and another director does something else, you can get co-director credit. In a situation like Solo, the final movie, like 75% of the final movie was all Ron Howard. So Ron Howard got the director credit for it instead of Lord and Miller. So yes, you can. You just have to show the Directors Guild that in practical terms, 50% of what ends up on screen in the movie was you. And if you can't show that, then it goes to the person who shows, that they did the majority of the work on it and they get the director's credit. So anyway, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's the basic thing to that, Chanel. All right. Brandon Chambers writes, over under 50%, Marvel will ever make, well, there you go. I'm using the word ever. So that means 100%. Anyway, Marvel will ever make a Moon Knight movie in the MCU. My dream casting would be Jensen Ackles, hashtag Justice for Han. I don't really care about dream casting, but as soon as you bring the word ever, Brandon, into it, it's almost always a 100% answer. Because ever is a long time. Ever is a long time. Will the MCU ever do a Moon Knight movie? I got to go 100%. Yeah, at some point, someday, whether that's in 10 years, 20 years, whenever, I don't know. Now, if you're asking over under 50% that we get a Moon Knight movie in the next 5 years, then I can answer that. And I would probably take the under 50%. Not 0, not 10%, but I'd take under 50. But as long as you're asking ever, then it's almost a 100% guarantee. Almost. But yeah, I will say yes, since you're asking if it will ever happen. I will say yes, Brandon. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, one of the most painful action bits ever, Indy getting punched in the bullet wound. Yeah, that was it, but nothing. I'll see. That's good. That's good. But there are worse. And I mean, I just have to go to last year's A Quiet Place, man. Something as simple in a movie with monsters that tear people apart, the most horrifying, terrifying, gut-wrenching scene is Emily Blunt walking down some stairs and stepping on an exposed nail. In a movie with alien creatures that tear people's flesh from their bones, a woman walking down the stairs with some laundry, stepping on an exposed nail, is by far the most scene I've seen in a while. It's crazy how that works, though. Domingo Jerez writes, are we going to see the X-Men in costume? I hope not. I think the X-Men costumes would be horrible on a live-action scene. There would be some characters who I think their costumes would transfer over well. But for the most part, like, I think rogues could transfer well. But for the most part, I think they would look ridiculous in live action. That's just my opinion, but I think they would look utterly ridiculous in live action. There are superheroes whose their costumes look awesome on a printed page, like the X-Men's, but in live action, I just do not think would work. And so I cringe at the thought of there ever have been a Hugh Jackman Wolverine where he actually wore that yellow spandex. I think in the comics, great. In the animation, great. I just think on a live action screen, it would have looked preposterous. I think a number of Storm's outfits would just look preposterous in a live action screen. But that's just my opinion. I'm not saying that's the definitive right answer. So all I can say, Domingo, is I hope not. I really, really hope not. All right. Go Robot writes, music biopic that you want to have happen. Mine would be Led Zeppelin and Red Hot Chili Peppers. P.S. Ashley, you are my new crush. Honestly, everybody is mad when you say this. I don't think musicians are interesting enough people to do it. Now, don't get me wrong. I thought Bohemian Rhapsody was really good. I did. Obviously, you guys heard me talk about Straight Outta Compton, and Walk the Line is good. But I rather see biopics about people who actually change the world. You know, biopics where millions of people got fed because of this person's work, or so many people now survive a certain disease because that woman cured something, or somebody who helped, 1,000 Jews escape the Nazi turmoil. Or I'm more interested in that than another biopic about famous rich celebrities. Okay, I guess. I don't know. But I'm saying all that, yet there are musical biopics that I've enjoyed. And look, I certainly wouldn't say no to a Led Zeppelin biopic, and I wouldn't necessarily say no to a Red Hot Chili Peppers biopic, although I have no idea if there's anything interesting about Led Zeppelin or Red Hot Chili Peppers. I simply don't know. So, yeah, I wouldn't say no to them, but when I try to think about biopics that I'd like to see, it's not bands or musicians that my mind goes to. That's just me. That's just me. NPE94 writes, thoughts on the Jussie Smollett situation. Already gave my thoughts on that. Ivan Kadzarov writes, hey guys, love your show. Thank you so much, Ivan. Just to let you know, my birthday was yesterday, and I was finishing up your yesterday's stream, and to be honest, I've never been prouder to be a Bulgarian from the time. Oh, because Robert, I remember this now, because Robert brought up, we were talking about our favorite theater experiences, and Robert brought up that his favorite movie theater experience was actually in a theater in Bulgaria, because he was there working on something. And so that's what you're talking, at least I think that's what you're talking about. So you were never prouder to be Bulgarian. That's cool, man. I'm glad you had that experience. Yeah, Robert privately, Robert talks a lot about that experience he had in Bulgaria. He had a really good time in Bulgaria, and he talks about it to me privately often, about the different types of experiences he had and the people that he met and all that kind of stuff. He loved his time in Bulgaria. And so it's really funny that you're mentioning that, Ivan. I'm glad we gave you something to puff your chest out about a little bit and feel a little proud of. Thanks for sharing that, Ivan. I appreciate that, man. And it looks like Ivan follows up with, Rob said his best movie-going experience was in Bulgaria, and I think it was also in my hometown, Sofia, in the Movie Complex Arena. Oh, there's something called the Movie Complex Arena? Okay, that just sounds cool. I want to go see that. Anything else interesting in your stay there? Well, I can tell you for sure there was. He's told me stories about it. They're not my stories to tell, but I know he loved his time in Bulgaria. I know he had a really good time there. Let's see. Hazel Chavez writes, John, Ashley, Robert, you all are awesome. Well, thank you so much, Hazel, and I will make sure I pass that along to Robert and Ashley as well. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. All right. Florian Stumpf writes, I'm really looking forward to seeing Yesterday. My dad was a huge Beatles fan, and he would love it. You know what's funny? I'm not a Beatles fan, and I can't wait to see this movie. The concept of the movie, I think, is fantastic. For those of you who haven't seen it, we've talked about it on the show before, but a new trailer came out for Yesterday. And what it's about is this guy who's a struggling musician, and he wakes up one day, and the entire world has completely forgotten about the Beatles. No one in the world has ever even heard of the Beatles or any of their music. It's just been wiped from existence. And he's the only guy who remembers the Beatles. And he's like, so he's playing Beatles songs, and people are going, oh, that's beautiful. Did you write that? He goes, no, that's by the Beatles. Who are the Beatles? And he's like, what? And so he becomes rich and famous by pretending he wrote these songs. It looks fantastic. I love the premise. And I'm not even a Beatles fan. But Florian, my friend, if your dad was a big Beatles fan, I could totally see why that would be so special to you. Absolutely. And I think the movie looks great. Here's hoping it doesn't disappoint, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing it. Okay. Andrew Kiranen writes, I've managed to grow my channel to 5,000 subscribers in 1 year doing reactions. What are your thoughts on reaction videos? Well, Andrew, I've shared my thoughts before. There's no one blanket answer. For the most part, there are a couple of reaction channels that I quite like. Most notably would be the Day One guys. I think those guys are bloody hilarious. I think it's all fake, but I think they are supremely entertaining, and I think they're awesome. And obviously, the Real Rejects. Greg and John, I think they do a really bang-up job and a really good job with their stuff. For the most part, though, here's the thing. I've watched trailers with a lot of people. I've watched trailers with some prominent trailer reactors. And when the camera's not on, that's not how you react. This whole thing of something mildly exciting happens in a trailer. Whoa! Whoa! Like that's not how people actually act, at least not for the most part, when they're watching a trailer, right? And I remember I had a whole bunch of people asking me, John, you got to do trailer reactions. You got to do trailer reactions. You got to do trailer reactions. They get all the views. You got to do trailer reactions. We want to see you do trailer reactions. And I said, all right, sure, I'll give it a shot. But the thing is, I don't want to act. And honestly, me watching a trailer is, ooh, wow. Oh, see, that's the guy from that other part. Yeah. And there's nothing entertaining about watching a guy just going, oh, neat, yeah. That was funny. Like, people want to see, whoa, no. Or they want to see that, and I would have to fake it. Trailer reactions are very easy views to get. They're easy views to get. And I would love to have them. I really would, but I just know I would have to act and not be natural. So, Andrew, I just hope that I trust that you're one of those guys, like a few other channel reactors, that you're one of the authentic ones, that you just give your honest reaction to it and all that kind of stuff. That's great. I'm just not. And by the way, don't think for a second that I'm disparaging trailer actors. Not at all. I think to do it well is a very unique skill. I clearly cannot do it well, and I respect people who can do it well. But that's why they're not really for me. And I'm not into watching trailer reactions of people for the most part, other than, like I said, a couple of guys that I just quite enjoy because I like them. But yeah, I'm not going to cast any shade on the industry of trailer reaction or trailer reactors themselves. It's just that it's just not for me. That's all. A lot of them do a tremendous job. They get a lot of views. They entertain a lot of people. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And just because it's not for me doesn't mean I'm going to poo-poo it. So it's not for me, but a lot of people love watching. My brother-in-law, Ray, he watches the shit out of trailer reactions. He loves trailer reactions. As soon as a trailer drops, he's popping on trailer reactions. That's all that. And he'll as soon as a big trailer drops, he's watching like 25 different trailer reactions. He just loves them. So there's certainly a thing for them. And if you can do it well and have some success, that's awesome. They're just not my thing. That's all. That's the only thing. All right. Next, Phil Fang Farm writes, has anybody read the Umbrella Academy comics? I know Robert has. He and I talked about it a little bit. I have not. I only barely heard of them. Like, I've known about them for a while. I've never read them myself, though, and I'm just getting in the series. Courtney Haynes writes, which character will be the MVP of Endgame? That's a good question. If they follow through with what they started in Infinity War, and there's no promise they will, but if they do, it'll be Thor. Also, you can make a big argument for the two main characters of the MCU, which are Captain America and Iron Man, so you can make an argument for that. But, I mean, I think Kevin Feige is also all in on Captain Marvel. Kevin Feige is very big on Captain Marvel. And I think there's a reason that movie's coming out before Endgame. And I think there's a chance it could be Captain Marvel. So, in order, I think, number one, the best chance is Thor. The next best chance, I think, is Captain America. The next best chance is Tony. And the fourth best chance will be Captain Marvel. I think those are your top picks for who could end up being MVP. Maybe it won't be any of them. But if I had to speculate right now, that's my guess. All right. Vishal Shethi writes, who had a bad 2018? The Academy or the DCEU pre-Aquaman? Well, Vishal, that is the easiest question I'm going to get today because there was no DCEU in 2018. Aquaman was it. Aquaman was the only film the DCEU had in 2018. So the easy thing is the Academy. The Academy had a pretty rough 2018. Not nearly, it's just gotten worse in 2019, but I'd say the Academy. And they didn't have the 2018 wasn't the worst year for the Academy, by the way. But there was no DCEU other than Aquaman, so that makes that one easier to answer. Jeremy Miller writes, more screen time for Gilbert. Hashtag more Gilbert, less Han. I'm going to guess, I don't know. I'm going to guess is Gilbert a character in Fast and Furious? I don't know, so I'm not really sure what we're talking about, Jeremy. Sorry about that. Cesar Rodriguez writes, what are the chances Doctor Strange shows up in Captain Marvel warning Nick about the snap? I don't know. I don't know that he can time travel. I think, now, I'm strictly speculating here. I'm not pretending to be coming at this from any position of insider knowledge or anything like that, okay? The way it's played out in the movies, the way I interpret it, which could be totally wrong, let's just be clear. The way I interpret it is that what Strange can do with the Eye of Agamotto is he can clearly do some turning back time, fast forwarding time, create a time loop to get stuck in, all that kind of stuff. But the other thing we saw him do in Infinity War was he looked into 14 million possible futures and outcomes and blah, blah. He looked into it. I don't know. And again, I'm saying I don't know, but I don't know that Doctor Strange can physically time travel and just go hang out in 1993 and say, hey, Captain Marvel, my name's Dr. Stephen Strange, and I've got some stuff to tell you. I don't know that the movies have ever said that he can actually do that. I don't know that the movie universe has ever laid out the groundwork that he can do that. We know he can move time backward. We know he can create a time loop, and we know he can peer and look into future and past and all that kind of stuff. But the movie has never set a groundwork to suggest that he can physically actually time travel himself and go and interact with a different time. So I just don't know that we're going to get into Captain Marvel and that's going to happen. Now, I do know this. There are several big surprises in Captain Marvel. I haven't seen the movie yet. Again, I'm seeing it next week. But Disney has already sent out an email, like in the initial email that you get when you're going to a premiere. Marvel sent out an invitation to me for the premiere of Captain Marvel. And they put in this big paragraph. You know what? Let me pull it up. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Okay, just because I want to get the reading of this absolutely correct. Okay. In the invitation, there's this huge paragraph. Okay, here it is. Big paragraph in the invitation. In order to give audiences around the world the opportunity to enjoy our movie to the fullest and allow them to discover any surprises and plot twists, we respectfully ask that you, as press, refrain from revealing spoilers and detailed story points in your coverage, including the social media. So it's like the last time I saw that in one of their invitations was for Infinity War, and we saw what kind of what happened there. And in Infinity War, they held off the social embargo was lifted much earlier, much like Captain Marvel's was. But for Infinity War, the actual review embargo was held until the day after the premiere to try to keep those secrets as undercover as possible. They're doing the same thing for Captain Marvel. To me, that tells me definitively there are several big surprises. Could Doctor Strange popping up in Captain Marvel to warn her of something, could that be one of the surprises? Yes. I'm just saying the only difficulty I have with that is that the movie has never set a groundwork that suggests that Doctor Stephen Strange can actually do that. So it's possible, because there are a lot of surprises coming. I just have a hard time seeing it right now, but we'll have to see. Okay, next one comes to us from Froygon Jin, who writes, if you had to bet $100, which movie does Disney give us first? Star Wars 10, or Indy 5? Ooh, that's a good question, man. Okay, we know they were supposed to give us Indy 5, I think in 2019, 2020, then it got bumped a year. Harrison Ford, hold on a second. Hey, Google, how old is Harrison Ford? Let's get Google to tell me.
Harrison Ford is 76 years old.
Harrison Ford right now is 76 years old. How much longer can you wait? I don't know. So theoretically speaking, Indy 5 should come first because they've announced Indy 5. It's supposed to be in the works and it's coming, and there is no announcement for any Star Wars Episode 10 at this point, and so theoretically it should be Indy 5. But I don't know that I would bet $100 on it actually happening. Again, I'm just guessing, just speculating here. I might put my $100 on Star Wars Episode 10 coming before any new Indiana Jones film. I'd be tempted to put it on that. You know what I will? I'll put it on that, hypothetically speaking and theoretically speaking. I'll put that theoretical $100 bet on Star Wars Episode 10, even though there's no announcements, even though there's no guarantee of a Star Wars Episode 10, I think I would still put that hypothetical $100 on Episode 10 rather than Indiana Jones 5, because honestly, I just don't know that it's actually going to happen. Spielberg says it's going to happen, the producers say it's going to happen, Ford says it's going to happen, but the dude right now is 76. Right now, he's 76. So he's going to be 77 or 78 when they even film this thing. I don't know. And the longer it gets pushed off, I just think the more and more unlikely it is. So again, just as a pure guess speculation and understanding that the money is only hypothetical, I will put that hypothetical 100 on Star Wars Episode 10. All right, Clay writes, Sebastian Stan played the douche skier that kept trying to kick loose. Oh, that's okay. So what happened? And then Ben follows it up with Hot Tub and MCU both have Sebastian Stan. That's the okay. So earlier on today's show, one of the earlier questions was Ben wrote in and said that Winter Soldier, there's a shared universe between the MCU and Hot Tub Time Machine because of Winter Soldier. And I didn't know what it was he was talking about. Of course, Sebastian Stan played the skiing douchebag who thought all the other characters were Russian spies. I totally forgot that was Sebastian Stan. Good. Okay, that's a good one, Ben. And Clay, thanks for pointing that out as well. That's a good, now that makes total sense. Now I know what you're saying. I can't believe I forgot about that because you're absolutely on the money. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of Open Mic. We are now, That'll do it for this installment of the companion videos. We are now all caught up on the question we had. Don't forget, guys, we will be back again tomorrow for the John Campus Show on Friday. By the way, guys, don't forget this too. The Oscars are on Sunday. If you're planning on watching them, why don't you have your laptop open and watch along with me, Robert, and Ashley. Me, Robert, and Ashley, and Ann are going to be watching the Oscars on Sunday night, and we're going to live stream us watching the Oscars. We're going to live stream us watching the Oscars, and we would love for you to watch along with us. So just have your TV on, then have your phone over here or your laptop open there. And now, I think on the YouTube live stream, there's like a 15-second delay, so they'll announce a winner, and then you'll see our response to it. But yeah, watch along with us, and we're sure we're going to have a good time. All right, guys, that will do it for me for this installment of the companion videos. Thanks so much for joining us. My name's John Campia, and until the next video, bye-bye.